Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today I have a book haul for you. I got more books, and I'm not even sorry about it. It was a great day where I bought most of these books that I'll share with you. But before we jump into all these books that I got at some used bookstores in Rochester, I took a little day trip to Rochester and got the books. But before I share those, I wanted to share 3 others that I got that I haven't shared with you recently, but I got throughout the summer. So the first was a gift from my husband. He went on a trip to Boston with his marching band, and he brought back Chains by Lori Howes Anderson. It has the National Book Award finalist and Scott Odell Award for historical fiction. So this is a middle grade historical fiction or young adult. I'm not quite sure. All that it has on the back, instead of a description, is praise for Chains. So I will read you some of that praise. It is startlingly provocative, nuanced, and even-handed. A fast-moving, emotionally involving plot. That's from Publishers Weekly. Then it says readers will care deeply about Isabel. That's from Kirkus Reviews. And we also have Anderson, the author, explores elemental themes of power, freedom, and the sources of human strength in this searing, fascinating story. And lastly, that was from Booklist. And then lastly, from Bulletin of the Center for Children's Books, we have Engrossing, a heart-racing story. So I believe it's during the Revolution, the American Revolution in the 1700s, because there's both a British and American flag on here, but also must include some sort of slavery. Oh, each of the chapters have dates on them. So chapter 1 says Monday, May 27th, 1776. So that was a very sweet gift from my husband when he was away on his trip. Then I have my most recent book of the month. My July book of the month was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This one says, in this exhilarating novel by the best-selling author of The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry. I didn't know that. That's cool. Okay. 2 friends, often in love but never lovers, come together as creative partners in the world of video game design, where success brings them fame, joy, tragedy, duplicity, and ultimately a kind of immortality. I've heard such great things about this one. It involves a video game and these 2 people playing video games, but that's not like the sole focus of the story. You don't have to be a gamer to like this story. I have just heard such great things. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm actually hoping to get to a lot of my book of the months toward the end of the year. It's a goal of mine to read at least 12 this year. That's a new goal. I haven't said that anywhere, but book of the month has an app. I'm sure all of you know this, but on the app, if you read 12 of the books, you get some sort of award. And I'm sure the award doesn't actually give you anything, but I want the award. So I'm going to try to get to a lot of book of the month books in this last quarter of the year. No, last third of the year. So hopefully this one will be one of those. And then my August pick was When We Were Bright and Beautiful by Jillian Medoff. I believe this was the contemporary fiction choice. And I love contemporary fiction. So this one says, the acclaimed best-selling author of This Could Hurt returns with her biggest, boldest novel yet, an electrifying, twisty, and deeply emotional family drama set on Manhattan's glittering Upper East Side that explores the dark side of love, the limits of loyalty, and the high cost of truth. Sounds good to me. Family sagas are buzzwords for me. I don't think this one was multi-generational, but still. Sounds good. I think I will enjoy that one. So then, last Saturday, I took a day to myself. I said, see you later, hubby and kiddos. I just need a day. I was actually supposed to have a book club retreat with my friends, but one of them got sick, and so we were not able to do that. So I took a day trip to Rochester, Minnesota, which is south of the Twin Cities, and I looked up a bunch of used bookstores. Oh, before I went, though, it just so happened that the library in my town was having a used book sale. So, of course, I stopped before I started the drive to Rochester. And I got 5 books, these 5. So, we have the first by Kristen Hanna, one of my favorites. This one is called If You Believe, and it was published in 1993. So one of her older ones. Anyway, this one says, Mariah Throckmorton was hiding from a past filled with scandal. Mad Dog Stone was a drifter looking for a few days' work. He walked into her life, threatening Mariah's peace of mind and stirring emotions she tried to hide. Their love was born against all odds, difficult to count on, impossible to hold. Together, they would learn the bittersweet truth that love only exists if you believe. Well, that sounds cheesy, but that's okay. I wanted to get it. It was only $1, and I hope to get to this pretty soon because I'm trying to read all of Kristen Hannon's books this summer. I think that'll bleed into September a little bit. Also from my town's book sale, I got Beatrice and Virgil by Yann Martel. I was drawn to this one because this is the author of Life of Pi. So this one says, fate takes many forms. When Henry receives a letter from an elderly taxidermist, it poses a puzzle that he cannot resist. As he is pulled further into the world of this strange and calculating man, Henry becomes increasingly involved with the lives of a donkey and a howler monkey named Beatrice and Virgil, and the epic journey they undertake together. With all the spirit and originality that made Life of Pi so beloved, this brilliant new novel takes the reader on a haunting odyssey. On the way, Martel asks profound questions about life and art, truth and deception, responsibility and complicity. Life of Pi holds such a strong place in my heart. It was one of the books I had to read during the summer for AP English, and that's one of the first books I annotated because our teacher made us highlight certain things like where we saw life and where we saw other symbols. That book just holds a special place in my heart. I loved highlighting it. I know exactly where I read it. I was up at a family member's cabin and I read it that week. And so I saw this on the shelves and I was like, I have to give it a try. So again, that is Beatrice and Virgil by Yann Martel. Next, to add to my fantasy collection, I have Lord John and the Hand of Devils by Diana Gabaldon. This is her offshoot series from Outlander where we follow one of the characters named John Gray. There it is, John Gray. So I believe that this is the second in the series. I have the first and I have the fourth. So I saw this one for $2 and I thought I should get it. The next one, I'm very disappointed and almost embarrassed by myself because I got The Ensemble by Aja Gabel. And I was like, wow, this one's on the shelves. That's awesome. The cover is so beautiful. And then I brought it home and my husband is like, didn't you read that book already? I was like, no, it's been on my TBR for a long time. I've wanted to read it. And then I realized, wait, I've definitely read this book. And it was an okay book. I think I maybe gave it 3 stars, but it didn't live up to the beautiful cover. But I think I was reading this book for a Modern Mrs. Darcy challenge. She used to give 12 prompts throughout the year that you were supposed to complete, and this one was choose a book based on the beautiful cover. And I chose this one because she recommended it as one with a beautiful cover, and it does indeed have a beautiful cover, but the story didn't live up to the cover. And I spent $2 on this book, which I'm a little disappointed by because I have already read it. I'm hopefully going to gift this to somebody. It was a good story that involves music and 4 friends who are in a quartet together and their cutthroat lives as musicians, which I know sounds silly, but if you don't know the life of a professional musician, it can be a little cutthroat. So that is The Ensemble by Aja Gabel. And lastly, another surprise by an author that I really, really love. I found this small little book called Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini, the author of Kite Runner, A Thousand Splendid Suns, and the Mountains Echoed. And this one, I think, is just a letter from a grandfather to his grandson. Let me read the inside cover for you. On a moonlit beach, a father cradles his sleeping son as they wait for dawn to break and a boat to arrive. He speaks to his boy of the long summers of his childhood, recalling his grandfather's house in Syria, the stirring of olive trees in the breeze, the bleating of his grandmother's goat, the clanking of the cooking pots. And he remembers, too, the bustling city of Homs, with its crowded lanes, its mosque and grand souk, in the days before the sky spat bombs and they had to flee. When the sun rises, they and those around them will gather their possessions and embark on a perilous sea journey in search of a new home. So this honestly looks like a little picture book. There is some beautiful artwork throughout. I could probably just like sit down and read this tonight, but I'm really intrigued to see what he has to say in this short little book, this short little prayer. So that is Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini, and I'm really happy I came along this one. Okay, then I drove to Rochester and I hit up 4 used bookstores. 2 of them I bought things at, 2 of them I didn't. So the first one I went to was the Friends of the Library bookstore. The library in Rochester has a bookstore in it, and it's open, I think, every Saturday, where they get rid of duplicates and books that have been on the shelves too long. But I was like, I gotta check that out. So from the library, I got The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I have read The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, and on my shelves, I have Harlem Shuffle, also by Colson Whitehead. So, saw this one for $2 and I thought I should get it. Let's see what it's actually about. In this bravura follow-up to the Pulitzer Prize and National Book Award winning #1 New York Times bestseller, The Underground Railroad, Colson Whitehead brilliantly dramatizes another strand of American history through the story of 2 boys sentenced to a hellish reform school in Jim Crow-era Florida. Whoa, okay, this will be good. As the civil rights movement begins to reach the black enclave of Frenchtown in segregated Tallahassee, Elwood Curtis takes the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to heart. He is as good as anyone. Abandoned by his parents, but kept on the straight and narrow by his grandmother, Elwood is a high school senior about to start classes at a local college. But for a black boy in the Jim Crow South of the early 1960s, one innocent mistake is enough to destroy the future. Elwood is sentenced to a juvenile reformatory called the Nickel Academy, whose mission statement says it provides physical, intellectual, and moral training so that the delinquent boys in their charge can become honorable and honest men. In reality, the Nickel Academy is a grotesque chamber of horrors where the sadistic staff beats and sexually abuses the students, corrupt officials and locals steal food and supplies, and any boy who resists is likely to disappear out back. Oof. Stunned to find himself in such a vicious environment, Elwood tries to hold on to Dr. King's ringing assertion, "Throw us in jail and we will still love you." His friend Turner thinks that Elwood is worse than naive, that the world is crooked, and that the only way to survive is to scheme and avoid trouble. The tension between Elwood's ideals and Turner's skepticism leads to a decision with repercussions that will echo down the decades. Formed in the crucible of the evils Jim Crow wrought, the boys' fates will be determined by what they endured at the Nickel Academy. Based on the real story of a reform school in Florida that operated for 111 years and warped the lives of thousands of children, The Nickel Boys is a devastating, driven narrative that showcases a great American novelist writing at the height of his powers. Wow, that sounds so heavy. I didn't realize how heavy. But I'm sure this will be very good and I'll learn a lot from that. So that's The Nickel Boys. Next, I got a Louise Penny to add to my collection, to the Armand Gamache series that I have. So this one is Kingdom of the Blind. I am not going to read the synopsis, but in this series, the Inspector Armand Gamache is solving small little mysteries in the town of Three Pines. There's a great group of characters that he becomes friends with, and it's a great series to read, especially in the winter, because they're very cozy mysteries. And this small town in Quebec, Canada, the murders always seem to happen in the winter. So I have a bunch of them down here. I don't know if you can see them, but I have All the Devils Are Here, The Madness of Crowds, A Great Reckoning, and Glass Houses. I'm not sure where this one fits. Oh, look at that. So pretty. All the inside covers have that. But Kingdom of the Blind fits in after A Great Reckoning and Glass Houses. So this is number 14 in the series. I think she just came out with like 17 or 18 this year. So happy to have found this one. And lastly, I got a book that I'd heard of a while ago, but then never did anything about, because it's written by Chris Colfer, who was one of my favorite characters in Glee, Kurt. And this is The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell. This is a middle grade fantasy where two characters fall into a book, and it's classic stories that we know of: Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, but there's a twist on the story, so I'll just read the front cover, or the inside cover. Alex and Connor Bailey's world is about to change. When the twins' grandmother gives them a treasured fairy tale book, they have no idea they're about to enter a land beyond all imagining, the land of stories, where fairy tales are real. But as Alex and Connor soon discover, the stories they know so well haven't ended in this magical land. Goldilocks is now a wanted fugitive, Red Riding Hood has her own kingdom, and Queen Cinderella is about to become a mother. The twins know they must get back home somehow, but with the legendary evil queen hot on their trail, will they ever find the way? The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell, brings readers on a thrilling quest filled with magic spells, laugh-out-loud humor, and page-turning adventure. So when I checked out with this one, the ladies behind the desk were like, "Oh, how old is your reader?" And I was like, "Oh, this is for me, actually. I enjoy middle grade." And so, yes, probably Theodore and Mabel will read this one eventually, or maybe I would read it to them. But I am excited to dive into The Land of Stories. And I'm so excited that at the next store I went to, actually, I went to one in between that. There was this one kind of pop-up bookshop in downtown Rochester, and I didn't find anything there that I really liked. So that was a bust. But the next store, Garden Party Books, had such charm. You walk in and it doesn't look like there are hardly any books, but then you go around and it's almost, I think it was a house, because there are all these little closets and separate rooms, and each room has a genre affiliated with it. So there's one room just for all romance. There's one room, they call it the murder room, which is for the mysteries and thrillers. There was a whole children's section where there was also some toys and games for kids. It was such a cute shop, and they had some books. So you know how I talked about The Land of Stories that I got at the library bookstore? Well, I picked up the rest of the series. There are 6 books in this series, as far as I know. Each of them were $3. So I got the whole series for like $18. This is The Land of Stories, The Enchantress Returns. I love the purple on this one. Then book number 3 is A Grim Warning. Book number 4 is Beyond the Kingdoms. Looks like we have some Wizard of Oz here. Oh, this just looks fun. Then the 5th book is An Author's Odyssey. And the 6th, we have Worlds Collide. So these are like really nice copies of the books. Oh, I love that there are little pop-out maps in each of them, and it should just be fun. Maybe I will read all of these for middle grade March or something. I don't know. I'm just excited that I was able to find all of them. I told my sister Naomi that I got them, and she is a 4th grade teacher, and she said her students absolutely love them, so I'm excited to own all of them. I also got 2 more at Garden Party Books. The first is Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. This one I actually have on my shelf of books that I don't actually own. A friend of mine, Alexa, lent out her copy to me, but this was only $1, so I figured I could own my own copy and give hers back. This one says, from one of the most brilliant and influential lawyers of our time comes an unforgettable true story about the redeeming potential of mercy. Bryan Stevenson was a gifted young attorney when he founded the Equal Justice Initiative, a legal practice dedicated to defending the poor, the wrongly condemned, and those trapped in the furthest reaches of our criminal justice system. One of his first cases was that of Walter McMillian, a young man sentenced to die for a notorious murder he didn't commit. The case drew Stevenson into a tangle of conspiracy, political machination, and legal brinksmanship, and transformed his understanding of mercy and justice forever. I actually got to see Bryan Stevenson in 2018 at a conference that I went to, and His story is just really awesome. The work that he did is super powerful and meaningful to those who might not have the means to represent themselves in a court of law. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing his story, especially in one of his first cases with Walter McMillian. So that was one of the books I got at Garden Party Books. And then the last one is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I've seen this one everywhere, mostly because Anne Bogle did it for her Modern Mrs. Darcy book club. I'm not a part of that, but I heard that she was doing it. So I believe that this one is a romance. Let's see. It says, children, set the table. Your mother needs a moment to herself. Chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality, except for one. Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant, Nobel Prize-nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. True chemistry results. Like science, though, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth Zott finds herself not only a single mother, but also the reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at 6. Elizabeth's unusual approach to cooking, combine 1 tablespoon acetic acid with a pinch of sodium chloride, proves revolutionary. But as her following grows, not everyone is happy, because as it turns out, Elizabeth Zott isn't just teaching women to cook. She's daring them to change the status quo. Laugh out loud funny, shrewdly observant, and studded with a dazzling cast of supporting characters, Lessons in Chemistry is as original and vibrant as its protagonist. This one just sounds like jolly good fun and a sweet story about a woman in love, but also a woman teaching other women how to be strong. So, sounds good. Plus, the bright pink is awesome. And I don't think I have another book like it on my shelves. That color, I mean. Okay, let's see if I can stack all these up. There's so many different sizes. This is not going to happen, especially with the Land of Stories. So, here's the first stack. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Nope, just 12. And another 6. Land of Stories by Chris Golfer. So, those are the 18 books I've hauled since my last book haul. Comment down below if you have read any of these and what you thought of them. Did I find some good books? I hope so. Let me know. Like this video on your way out. Consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more bookish and bullet journaling content by me. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.